When I answered the classified ad, I thought it was a joke. Overnight watch needed for rural train station. Easy money, few passengers, must follow instructions. The pay was better than any temp job I'd had in months, so I called. The man on the phone never gave his name, only an address. When I arrived, the station was nothing more than a decayed platform, a single waiting bench, and a rusted ticket booth under a cracked roof. Train tracks stretched into the fog in both directions, vanishing into nothing. The man was already there, thin, pale, with a hat pulled low. He handed me an old punch clock and a ring of keys. "Stay until dawn," he said, "and follow the rules." He pressed a folded slip of paper into my palm. Before I could ask, he was gone, swallowed by the mist. I opened the paper. Rule 1. Never step onto the tracks after midnight. The hours dragged at first. I sat on the bench, boots tapping against the concrete, the night air colder than expected. At 12:05, I heard the first sound, metal groaning like rails bending under a weight. My eyes drifted toward the tracks where a dark figure stood in the mist. It beckoned. My pulse hammered. The rule flashed in my head. I kept to the platform, teeth clenched, and the figure faded back into the fog. By 12:40, the ticket booth light flickered to life. The bulb had been dead moments earlier. Through the dirty glass, a man sat behind the counter, suit and cap, punching tickets on a machine. The paper shifted in my pocket, warm. I pulled it out. Rule 2. If the ticket clerk appears, do not speak to him. He will offer you a ticket. Do not take it. Sure enough, he slid a slip of paper through the hatch. My hands ached to reach forward to just peek, but I shoved them into my jacket and turned away. Behind me, I heard the faint crumple of the ticket burning itself to ash. At 1:15, the whistle of a train cut through the silence. But the station had been closed for years. There were no trains anymore. Still, the tracks vibrated, air thrumming with the approach of something massive. The rules bled new ink across the page. Rule 3. When the train arrives, do not board, no matter who you see inside. A shape emerged through the fog, an old steam engine, its paint peeling, smoke curling from a broken stack. The cars rattled as they passed, windows lit with a warm glow. Faces pressed against the glass, familiar faces, friends, family, people I knew were dead. They smiled, beckoned, mouths moving in silent invitation. My throat closed. I shut my eyes until the rumble passed, until the tracks were silent again. By 2 a.m., the platform grew colder, the air thick with frost. From the corner of my vision, I saw people sitting on the bench across from me. Men, women, children. Their clothes were decades old, their heads all turned in unison toward me. The rule sheet twitched. Rule 4. If other passengers appear, do not sit with them. Keep to your bench. Their eyes followed as I hugged myself tight, staring at the ground. I could feel them smiling, teeth too sharp, too many. At 2:30, I heard footsteps pacing along the tracks, heavy boots, dragging iron. When I finally dared to look, a conductor stood in the mist, lantern swinging from his hand. His eyes glowed faintly in the dark. New words carved themselves into the paper. Rule 5. Do not accept the conductor's lantern. No matter how dark it becomes, he held it out, silent, closer and closer, until the light nearly blinded me. I forced myself back, clutching the rules, until he faded into the fog. At 3:05, the wind rose, carrying faint voices from the rails, singing. A low rhythmic chant that pulled at my bones, urging me to hum along. The ground trembled, the paper spasmed in my grip. Rule 6. If you hear the song of the rails, cover your ears. Do not listen. I pressed my palms hard against my head, muffling the sound. Still it wormed in, a chorus promising warmth, rest, forever. My teeth ground until the chant ebbed, leaving only silence. By 4 a.m., the fog was a wall, curling around the platform like smoke. Inside it, shapes moved, tall and boneless, bending too far as they crept along the edges. The rules inked themselves again. Rule 7. Never follow the shadows into the fog. They will not bring you back. One of them extended a hand, long and pale, curling toward me like a hook. I bolted for the ticket booth, pressing against the door until the fog receded slightly. At 4:45, the bench beside me shook. A woman sat there, head bowed, hair hanging wet over her face. Her dress was soaked dark, dripping onto the platform. The paper tore itself as new words etched deep. Rule 8. If the drowned woman sits beside you, do not speak. She is waiting for an answer. My breath came ragged. She whispered softly, asking for her child, for help, for company. I bit my tongue until the metallic taste of blood filled my mouth. She vanished at the first hint of dawn. By 5:30, the tracks screamed as though 1,000 wheels ground against them. Sparks flew from the rails, though nothing passed. The platform shook under my boots. Ink smeared violently across the last scrap of space. Rule 9. Do not run. The station does not like when you run. So I walked, slowly, step by step across the trembling platform, past the bench, past the booth, toward the faint outline of the road beyond. At 6 a.m., light spilled through the fog, burning it away. The station stood empty again. No faces, no shadows, no trains. Just rust and silence. I turned the keys in that punch clock, breath shaking. The pale man was waiting by the road. He smiled faintly. You lasted. He took the clock and walked into the trees without another word. I stood there clutching the shredded rules. The paper was blank now, as if nothing had ever been written. But even now, when I close my eyes, I hear the whistle of a train that shouldn't exist, echoing from tracks that were supposed to be dead. And deep down, I know it's still coming, waiting for me to board.